Hey friends, Peggy Hall back with you from thehealthyamerican.org. Aren't you sick of me talking about RFK Jr.? I'm sick of talking about RFK Jr. But Bobby has betrayed and bamboozled millions if and millions of his followers. And it's very despicable. Don't you hate being lied to? Don't you hate it when people cheat and betray you? I, for one, have higher standards than that. I strive to live my life with dignity and integrity. And it's very difficult to trust someone when they betray you, when they lie to you, when they use you for their gains. Now, we are going to be looking at this video, and let me cue it up for you here. This is actually an interview that was done at the end of 2023 for a magazine called George Magazine. And we are going to hear RFK in his own words, if you can understand them. I know many of you have told me it's very difficult for you to understand him, so I will play the subtitles. I'm going to do a commentary on this for you, interspersed with his current positions. And this is titled RFK on Why the Government's Lack of Trust in the People is Destroying Democracy. And of course, you know how I feel about democracy. He stopped using that word democracy. I think he's watching my videos. Now he talks about the republic. This is a summary. Following that video, he wrote on Facebook, George Magazine asked me what I will do to restore trust in the government. First is to stop the lying and propaganda. Okay, stop the lying and the propaganda. So, which is it, friends? When he says, and I quote, as I have on my Instagram page here, he says, I support an uptake in vaccines. I want to protect vaccines. Let's go directly to my page here. And I listened to his testimony both days. I listened to it live, and then I went back and I listened to the recordings. Did you? So unless you listened to that, I don't want you to say, well, you're taking it out of context. These are words that he said directly. So for those of you who are defending the bamboozler, Bobby the bamboozler, by saying, Peggy, he had to lie. He had to lie to get the job. Well, he just said that he wants to stop the lying. So which is it? He needs to change the logo here because he stated, I recommend parents follow the CDC vaccine schedule. Friends, let me know in a comment. Are you okay with that? Are you okay with Bobby the bamboozler telling parents for their children to get the 80 plus, that's what it is now, jabs as children? That is what he said publicly on the record to millions of Americans. And I want to know if you are okay with that in order for him to be confirmed. Of course, he would never betray, lie, or cheat after that. He also says vaccines play a critical role in healthcare. He went on to say, and I can play this for you, that vaccines have saved millions of lives, and he wants to protect vaccines. He is supportive of vaccines. I recommend parents follow the CDC vaccine schedule. That's why I wholeheartedly state that RFK is the right man for the jab. He's going to do a great job as Health and Human Services Secretary. Let's take a listen to this now. Shall we? I'll cue this up and we will have a listen.
All my kids are vaccinated. I believe vaccines have saved millions of lives and play a critical role in healthcare. And I believe that vaccines play a critical role in healthcare. All of my kids are vaccinated. All my kids are vaccinated. I believe vaccines have saved millions of lives and play a critical role in healthcare.
Okay, so let me know you agree with him that these cocktails have saved millions of lives. There was no equivocation. There was no except. There was no possibly. There was no, well, I used to think this way. That was what he said. And millions of moms are going to follow his recommendations. And apparently, you're okay with that. Let's continue, shall we?
Recommend that parents get their children vaccinated against HIV?
I recommend that children follow the CDC schedule.
He didn't say once I get there, once I clear it out, once I revise it. No, he didn't say any of that. He says he supports the CDC vaccine schedule, and he recommends that parents follow the CDC schedule. And I want to hear from you. Do you agree with him? If you are still supporting him. And he also says that I will support the development and distribution of the cocktails for the avian flu.
Culture, and I'll just say about Operation Warp Speed, it was an extraordinary accomplishment, showed demonstration of leadership by President.
There you have it. You can't be any more clear than that. So friends, this I've been speaking about for the last few days. And I want you to hear, I've done videos on this man for the last few years, and many of you have come to your senses and you said, Peggy, you were right about RFK. Let's hear from him about what is important.
First thing.
Now this was back when he was running for president. So keep in mind that some of the comments are about him as president, but the more important thing is to listen to what he says is the most important thing to do to restore trust. And then you tell me if he's doing that or not.
You're going to do if you win the presidency to unite America?
The most important thing is to stop lying to Americans.
Okay, whoa. I just have to stop there for a second. The most important thing is to stop lying to Americans. So which is it, Bobby? Bobby the Bamboozler? Because lest you forget, friends, back in the day when he was the chairman of the Children's Health Defense. In fact, let's take a look at that now, shall we? Friends, Children's Health Defense is an organization that has brought in $16 million back in 2023. I don't have the records yet for 2024. Perhaps that was some of your hard-earned money. And here you go. Chairman Robert F. Kennedy made $326,000. He probably needed that money, of course, because, apparently he needed it. Now, when we go to Children's Health Defense, and I just grabbed a couple of images off the internet, you can see that for the last year, they were promoting this movie called Vaxxed 3. Now, I can't read the subtitle because I want to protect this channel, but they had dozens and dozens of individuals who spoke about what they went through with these cocktails that Bobby supports, that he just publicly stated he wants parents to follow. And he just stated that he believes that the government needs to stop lying to Americans. So which is it? Now, this is something else that Kennedy said. From the Children's Health Defense website, he says, this is Robert F. Kennedy. Yeah, it's hard for me to choke that word out. We have to fight, and we have to die with our boots on if necessary. What does that mean, friends? What does that mean, to die with your boots on if necessary? Let me know, because to me, I interpret that to mean that you will stand for the truth and for your convictions, and that you will not capitulate and cave and give in and give up and give over your freedoms. But that's exactly what he did in the Senate confirmation hearings. So this is the story of the Children's Health Defense and Kennedy's role there. He talked about when children experience regressive autism, life-altering neurological disorders, or tragically losing their lives. Now, I can't read anymore, but you can read it right there. This is what he stood for and has stood for, and millions of his moms and his Maha moms have supported him, and they still do, because they are justifying his lies, saying that he needs to do this in order to be confirmed. I'm going to speak about a couple of more of those objections and how they are faulty. It's faulty logic. It's not logic at all. It says that there was a psychologist, Sarah Bridges. She won an 8-year legal battle with the National Vaccine Injury Compensation Program, known as the Vaccine Court, when the US government conceded that these cocktails caused her son's autism. Why didn't Bobby mention that? Why didn't he bring that factual information? Because you're telling me that it is okay to lie and cheat and deceive. It doesn't make sense to me. Kennedy says, I don't get frustrated by this. All I have to do is think I'm here for those parents. The very parents that he told just now, last week, to follow the CDC schedule. he apparently is a coward because he did not stand up, or he's lying. He either lied to you or he's lying to the Senate. And you can see this right on the page of Children's Health Defense that he was the chairman of. And I don't know if you noticed it. He has written articles about this as well. There are all of these books on the Children's Health Defense website that he has separated himself from. Why didn't he talk about his book? Why didn't he talk about the book he did on Dr. Fauci? Why didn't he mention any of this? Why did he cave? Is he that weak? He says, I support an uptake in the cocktails. I want to protect them. All right, let's continue listening to his. Oh, before we do that, on his Maha page, there is absolutely nothing there mentioning Children's Health Defense at all. It says, congratulations, President Trump. And it goes on to talk about Kennedy coming from an illustrious political family, that all y'all have fallen for this celebrity, this name, when he is blatantly lying to you or lying to the Senate. Both are reprehensible. Nothing on his Maha page mentions his work at Children's Health Defense at all. Let's continue, shall we? He wants to stop lying to Americans.
Stop any kind of deception.
Stop any kind of deception. So what he did at the Senate was not deception at all. Oh, no.
And stop manipulating people.
Oh, and he's not manipulating you. All y'all who sent money to fill the coffers so he could get his nearly $400,000 a year salary.
Try to get them to do this. Only tell them people things that you actually believe to be true.
So which is it, Bobby?
And to make that not only a rule in the Oval Office, but throughout the government, there's no more propagandizing people.
Okay, it's really sickening because that's exactly what he is doing. He has betrayed you. He has bamboozled you. He has deceived you. He has used you and your money to improve and elevate his position, to get into politics, to enlarge it, and to persuade parents to do exactly what those of us with thinking brains would like to persuade them against. I will leave. Well, let's just keep playing a little bit here.
Asian health agencies, we need to do real science. With EPA, we need to do real science.
Well, what is real science? There's not even a definition for it. So now he'll do real science, the gold standard science, so that you will trust him when he rolls out the junior jab, and you will roll up your sleeves because now you trust him. Friends, so many of my healthy Americans can read between the lies, and they know that he was put in position to persuade you to go along with things that you didn't go along with previously. I can't be any more clear.
I'll order the CIA to stop propagandizing Americans and to unload its assets in the press, and I'll pass an executive order that forbids any federal government employee from having communications with social media or media outlets having to do with suppressing information.
Well, that's all fine and good. That's how deception works. You trot out some things that people will agree with you on, and then you slip in all of the lies. That is the nature of deception.
Propagandizing them. I think that's the most important thing. People will never trust you if you're lying to them.
And they'll always figure it out. We got to hear this again. Yes, we figured it out, Bobby, and we don't trust you.
Most important thing. People will never trust you if you're lying to them, and they always figure it out.
Well, we figured it out, Bobby. We figured it out. You are lying either to the Senate or to us. And in a moment, I will address all of those talking points that the Bobby sycophants are repeating.
One of the most disturbing features about COVID was the information chaos. How we were never given a straight story, that it kept changing, the goalposts kept changing over time, and that, people felt very, very manipulated.
Are you feeling manipulated, friends, or were you too smart to fall for this hogwash?
messages were given with an air of scientific certainty that this is the way things are. And then a month later, we'd find out, oh, that's not true. And I think we have to stop doing that. I think once we trust the American public, they're going to start trusting us.
Yeah. Are you trusting him? Do you trust him now, speaking out of both sides of his mouth? It's absolutely reprehensible. I've been warning you about him for years.
The whole impulse to censor people is so anti-democratic because it means that you no longer trust people.
Well, friends, I'm just going to leave the rest of this here. Well, I will play it out. It's really so hard to listen to.
You feel like you have to keep them from having dangerous thoughts in their head. And you're going to do that by deciding what they can and cannot hear. That is a collapsed faith in democracy. If you don't trust the demos, which are the people, you don't have a democracy. Please go to.
Okay. That's just really despicable. It's clear that Bobby has bamboozled and betrayed millions of people. And my heart breaks for the children who are going to be harmed by his publicly promoted policies, what he said to the senators without any hesitation, without any. Somebody wrote, Peggy, you sound as if you are implying that RFK is deliberately lying. Well, I don't know what it is. You tell me. Is he lying to you or is he lying to the senators? So these are his exact words. And I want you all to give me a yes or no if you agree with these statements. All right. He says vaccines have saved millions of lives. He says, I want to increase vaccine uptake. I want to protect vaccines. I recommend parents follow the CDC childhood vaccine schedule, which is now 80 plus shots. And Operation Warp Speed was an extraordinary success. So those are his words. And I want you to tell me if you agree with that or not. Melissa knows the score. She says, this is another major disappointment. I thought we had some hope for our country. He had the perfect opportunity to tell the world what really happened. Shannon says, I love your work, Peggy. I can see that many people who I previously followed who rejected the cooties narrative are now saying that they appreciate Bobby's effort. She writes, I'm like, huh? I see Fauci simply wearing a new costume. I've seen that the truth seeker spiritual types are saying that if we only see doom and gloom, we're the problem. We have to see the good in Bobby. She said, I was moved by this, but once I listened to you, my logical mind and heart, and I see that you are consistently speaking the truth. Thank you. These are some of the talking points that the sycophants have used again and again. The first one they say is, Peggy, there is no one else. Okay, that you probably know as my sophisticated, savvy, healthy Americans, that's called a false dichotomy. A false dichotomy is when you are presented with two options only, ignoring all of the other options in between. How is he the only one? How is it that there is no one else? And for those of you that are saying, well, Peggy, who would you put in there? Well, it's not up to me to put someone in there. I don't have all those answers, but I certainly don't want a liar. And if I were going to try to position it so that he would be nominated, or actually he is nominated, if I were to position it so that he would be confirmed, why not have 3, 4, 10, 12, however many you want, individuals lined up in advance, going in front of the Senate, saying all of these truths that we know to be true, sharing all of the data, the facts, the evidence, the court cases. Why not bring stories from parents and others? And even if the Senate were to say, well, we're not going to confirm you, that information would have been disseminated. It would have been spoken. People who were tuning into the hearings like me would have heard that. There could have been dozens before Kennedy that were not confirmed. And finally, when Kennedy came on the scene, he could say, you heard all of this previous testimony, which I support. And what I plan on doing is blah, blah, blah. So that could have been a very strategic move. Now, I did mention off the cuff someone like Dr. Tenpenny, and some of you were concerned about that because and I do know Dr. Tenpenny. I've not studied her work. It was just a name that came to me when people were pressing me for other names, Dr. Kaufman, Dr. Tom Cowan. And you're going to say, well, none of them would be approved or confirmed. We don't know that. There could be plenty of individuals that don't have a famous name that could have been there and could have spoken. They could have been scientists and doctors, and they could have set the Senate straight. Now, I didn't give my caveat, which is we know it's a dog and pony show. And my apologies to dogs and ponies. It's scripted, my friends. They were reading from scripts. They were flying off the handle and flying off their rocker to appear deranged. I mean, I have to admit, these senators were acting very strangely, many of them. That plays into the theater, into the narrative, so that the weak-minded, those that are not thinking critically, that are swayed by emotion, are going to say, well, Bobby didn't have a chance. They were badgering him, Peggy. He couldn't stand up for himself. You guys, he's an attorney. He's a Kennedy. He can't stand up for himself. I mean, come on. It's scripted theater. So I'm just using this as an opportunity in critical thinking and to help wake those of you up who were bamboozled by his lies. He himself has stated what you didn't want to hear when I brought it to you years ago. He could be jabbing a screaming infant on the floor of the Senate with 80 of those shots, and some would still be applauding, saying he had to do it for the greater good. This is the level of delusion where people are. So they'll say there's no one else. That's a false dichotomy. In our country, there is no one else. Give me evidence that there is no one else. How do you even back up that claim? The next one that comes up again and again is, Peggy, he had to lie to save lives. Okay, let me get this straight. He himself says that we have to stop lying to the American public, and that the moral conviction and courage is more important than anything else, especially when the rubber hits the road. I'm paraphrasing. And then he capitulates now. You're telling me that his telling parents to follow the CDC schedule is going to save lives? I want you to answer that in a comment. And Kennedy supporters will never answer these questions. They never have. I've been asking them for years. They will never answer the question, how many more children are going to be harmed in the name of all of these so-called safety trials that he wants to do? How many animals, until it's proven that poison is never safe? How many more millions and billions of dollars will be going to the pharmaceutical companies, because they are the ones that benefit from expanded testing? Is that getting through at all? His stated recommendations that he just gave a couple of days ago harm children and enrich the pharmaceutical companies. Bring me evidence to the contrary. Then they'll say he's only saying this to get nominated. Okay, so you're fine with the deceiver. You're fine with someone who lies and cheats and harms children in the meantime. There's no one else who could do this job. Yeah, bring me evidence to that. The final one, people say, well, you'll see. Once he's confirmed, then he'll start doing the real science. Yes, friends, the real science, where he will say, I've restored trust. You can trust me. He said that with his own words. That maybe it is still in that interview. I should probably play. Oh, I did play the rest of it. And in previous interviews where he has stated that actually, he said it in the confirmation hearings. He said, once I want to restore trust in the government, so then when the government says something, people will believe the government. Not me. And not me, friends. All right. Thank you for being on board. I really don't want to keep talking about this, but I do have some Substacks about it. And it's just in my nature to not want to let someone be harmed because of the comments, irresponsible comments of others. I feel compelled to try to wake people up. Tomorrow, I've got an email that I'm going to read to you about a Substacker, someone who's in the freedom movement. And he talks about two approaches that he takes, one that is very friendly and one where he humiliates people. It's never my intention to humiliate any individuals. I am always going to go after the truth. I'm not going after anyone, but but I am going after the truth. Wait until you hear this man's justification and the reason why he takes different approaches with people on his platforms. And I'd like to hear from you. I appreciate you being on board, friends. Remember, there is a new time for my broadcast, and that is Monday through Friday. That's 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. If you can make it live for the premieres or the live streams, that's fantastic. I appreciate you resubscribing to the channel, liking, sharing, commenting. That is how we can outwit this algorithm. And on Fridays, I'm going to be bringing you some positive encouragement so we can close out the week with more uplifting content and ideally keep our head above the waves in these stormy seas of life, because the bad guys want to pull us under. I'm grateful that you're standing with me as we march this all the way to heaven.